though. I had no idea who Kanza was playing. Venom is kind of like the local villain for this game, you know?
Everybody needs a hero.
We would say that it was Leffen, but nah, I feel like Venom's kind of taken it. But either way, I was asking him who Kanza plays, because apparently he knew Kanza, and he responded with your mum, so I had no idea up until just now. Turns out it's Percy.
I mean, that is a comprehensive answer, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's many layers to it, but first of all, big winner from the patch, honestly. Percival was already being slept on for ages. I feel like he was top 6, but post-patch, I think he's top 5, just a step below the top 4 characters, you know, Ferry being that gatekeeper, keeping a lot of the characters below the top 4, steadily below. But, you know, I've seen Rixta particularly have issues with Percival before. The last time that I saw Rixta in this event,
damn, nice
he
conversion.
lost to 0 IQ playing Percival. So,
well, I mean, I agree with you completely about Percival. He seems like one of the characters that has, I mean, he's got all the tools right, but he just seemed like with the sort of, you have to sort of get the installs going before he starts getting really scary.
yeah,
I think he needed a bit more work than people originally anticipated, so they just wrote him off.
Yeah, so the thing is with Percival is that in this game, right, this is a very fundamentals-based game.
Oh,
and as a result of that, all the characters with really well-rounded toolkits, like, you know, the Shadows, Catalina, Ferry also has most of the tools, and Gran, no worries. They all have a lot of the tools, right? And so that means that they have answers to most situations. The thing is that Percival, whilst he has great answers, once he has the socks, he can start enforcing the really messed up, you know, RPS situations that favor him in the same way that Gran and Catalina can pretty much whenever they want to with close M, close M.
Yeah, that's true.
So I feel like that's the one step down, but we'll see how late April touches the top 4. You know, they're apparently targeting the recovery.
I mean, you mentioned the buffs, right? And I was going to say, that's not even the end of it. So maybe he's won with this little mini buff with Sorix and Vegeta, but...
Yeah, it's not even a mini buff, though. He got some real stuff. His JH has less startup, he has less recovery on all of the buttons that needed that sorely, and his 2H has been improved a little bit, but... You know, regardless, one of the really interesting things about Percival going into this patch is that he probably has the best jump in the game, with being able to alter his air movement with JU, with the really good jump-ins with JH, and also, like, even on block situations, he kind of gets automatically pushed back with JU to ranges where he's in a really good position, especially against characters like Ferry. They're brilliant confirm.
I mean, we've already seen it a few times today where he's well, in this set rather, where he's done a jump in and then completely changed the arc with jump with the helmet.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a really, really powerful tool, especially against a character like Ferry, has very committal anti-air options. Like 2H beats certain ranges, but not others, and DP beats certain ranges, but not others. So using JU, you can really make a get mixed up in that situation. And again, even on block, it pushes Percival back to around about mid-range, which is exactly where Percival wants to be. Yeah, you see that right there. Punishing the GG call with a nice jump. But yeah, the only range where Ferry really struggles, if we're honest, is mid-range. She doesn't have the best mid-range buttons, you know, with her fastest one being Farlight for Abare situations, which just isn't as good as other characters. Whereas Percival really thrives in that range with the far medium and far heavy into special cancels. That's really where he wants to be, you know? So this matchup can be a little bit screwed up, especially if Percival, Percival needs to get stocks, which is hard against a zoning character like Ferry. But once he has them, he can do some really messed up stuff to her.
Because, I mean, if he gets interrupted while he's doing them, I mean, we see that Kanza's doing a really good job of every time he's got the moment to stick them on, he does. But he doesn't want to get interrupted, like you said. Ferry's buttons will just reach out and touch him pretty much wherever he's on the screen.
Oh, enemy mix-up time. Wow, never mind. Wow. Yeah, so... Oh, wow. Charging it. Go for the unblockable maybe, but no, doesn't end up getting it. That was really interesting.
Surely he didn't mean to hold it down.
I don't know, but I don't think he was getting a confirm from that anyway.
Yeah, I would have thought that the chain combo would have gone straight into the super.
The super, yeah, but I think he got too many hits. Because the Ferry obviously was going for a jump off of the anime mix-up. She was in an air juggle state. So, yeah, well, that's what it is at the end of the day, you know? All of a sudden we're playing Melty Blood.
It just makes me laugh. Loads of chip damage as well. That's where Ferry starts getting terrifying, is when you're on this amount of life. Because, you know,
Rixta's been doing
a
lot of work on playing super patient, not taking risks. Because, well, you're playing Ferry, right? You're the best character in the game at doing that. Staying full screen, staying, you know, at ranges that really threaten him. But the thing is that he's also been working on not consistently going for pulls on characters like this, because if you go for the whip pull and go for the Oki on a character like Percival, Catalina, Gran, etc.,
Just gonna catch a Dragon Punch.
yeah, it actually kind of favors them, because you know you have to take 2 RPS sequences, both of which can have DP holes and stuff like that. So you really don't want to give them a chance to get their turn back off of your RPS when you could just keep them completely zoned out. You know, it's the same way that you see Catalina's off of their knockdowns going for like safe jumps and going for meaties and risking kind of getting blown up by Ferry with a DP. What you really want to do is after the knockdown, you just take the positional advantage. You stay in mid range where her buttons aren't that good. Oh wow, 5U smoking the command dash.
Dang, right in the middle of it.
Obviously, that's a big part of playing against Ferry. It's understanding her weak ranges, because again, her anti-airs especially, as well as her grounded buttons, at mid ranges, they have notable gaps in where they're oppressive and where they're actually relatively weak. So understanding that and understanding how to play against the actual zoning element of Ferry, those are the 2 things that are really gonna separate people from who know how to play against Ferry from those that don't.
Well, see, that's as you're saying it as well. I mean, you start to see, you're talking about the patience of Rixta, but we're starting to see Kanza, I think, get a little bit flustered because he's run into a lot of long range.
There you go.
Oh wow.
Ferry getting the least reward off of counter hit universal overhead of the cast, but that's
because
fair.
she can. Yeah, I was just about to say that's because she's the only one that can combo off a throw. So dang.
Golden letters. Yeah, she can, which is ridiculous.
You have to give one
sometimes
to
it
take
feels
over the
like
other.
getting thrown by Gran does more damage than getting GG comboed off of a throw by Ferry.
Gran.
It's that mental damage,
Yeah, it is.
Just knowing after this throw you've got to do it all again.
Oh, what's that? You want more mediums in the face? Oh, wonderful. Oh, big punish. Oh, wow.
No, not a big punish, but gets the stocks, which is really important in this matchup. Having access to EX Fireball, EX DP, and the command dash being a lot more punishing, because again, a character like Ferry doesn't really have the best short range and mid range buttons. So if you can enforce plus frames with your command dash, you're actually in a really good spot in RPS sequences, because you obviously have tools like DP that are really reliable, great mid range buttons, so you can really. But that's not the thing. You can't do it against Rixta, man. He's too aware.
I was just about to say, he's done that, what, 3 times now? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
and
just 2U with the command dash. There you go. Now you have the Momo coming out. There goes the EXCG. He's standing at full screen to make sure that Percival can't move, right?
Ooh.
He can't move forward because Momo's coming towards him. And if he stands still, GG's going to run him down and knock him down. So by staying full screen, it means the camera can't move. So Percival's literally just stuck there.
Damn.
And then he can run up and take the mix afterwards. And a shit ton of chip.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
I mean, even if Kanza didn't survive there where he pressed a button and got clipped, then he probably would have got chipped out. So when you the stuff we were saying at the start, when you're at that level of life, look how much chip that did.
Yeah, but 5U has really big gap in the startup. It's very easy to react to. So it's kind of the payoff, right? If they're being a bit too respectful, you can throw it out. But if they're not being respectful, if they're on their game, you're just going to get smoked every time.
Well, it seems like...
Yeah, Kanza seems a little bit frustrated, like a little bit flustered.
To say. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's, nice dash up. Crouch light.
Oh, this isn't going to combo. It dropped.
Maybe he's going for a setup.
Well, it wasn't, but
American
got
reset.
one.
There you go. Yes.
See, some people call it a drop, but if you get the hit, just a reset, man.
I mean, is that 3 now?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, three. I mean, Kanza put on more of a fight in the first match, but this is what we're saying about the top tiers. Like you said, this is a very, very space-heavy, fundamental-heavy game, right? Lots of footsies. And that's, as you said at the start, that's why the top-tier characters are at the top, because they play that game the best. And Ferry just plays it outside of maybe the as you said, the closer ranges. And
yeah, that's what I mean. Ferry has some downsides, The other characters pretty much have tools for every situation all the time. Whereas Ferry, she's very good at what she does, but she does have some notable weaknesses. This is something that she does better than anyone else in the cast. Just 50-50 mix-ups. Oh. Why they have the install, like, why that even exists is beyond me, to be honest. This character would still be OD without it, but...
Yeah. Just, she has a little bit extra, You don't want to do the fireball super.
Oh, there you go, like you were talking about earlier. Gobbling off the fireball. Off of the throw, pardon, with GG.
But that's, I mean, we've seen 4 or 5 different subs in the corner now. Kanza would block the instant overhead, and he just got hit by the throw. He went to take the throw, he's been hit by the overhead. And there you go, another setup. Tried to spot dodge, gets hit by the GG, and then You know, it feels like however Kanza's trying to adapt, Rixta's got another.
Yeah, because
setup.
he has a really great fundamental understanding of this game's RPS and like what options all the characters have against him. And he adapts so quickly to the players that he's playing against that it honestly makes it look like he's not so much predicting, because RPS situations, the whole thing is that you're not actually reacting. It's just a guess. But Rixta makes it look like he's physically reacting to what they're doing. Like right there, gets the spot dodge.
And you said that was a precursor for what you said before, because you said you don't want to pull people in because Dragon Punch or something like that.
Yeah,
and
but it's all RPS.
Being real. But Rixta was one layer above that and knew, but by pulling him in, he was going to eat a Dragon Punch and just spot dodged it like the mate.
But obviously, if they are being respectful in that situation, they just get their turn back. And more than that, if you're spot dodging, they actually just get a straight up punish. But at the same time, it's all RPS at the end of the day. But the amount of the consistency to Rixta and how often he wins RPS situations is absolutely incredible. That's like something that sets him apart from anyone else. You watch him play against people like Fury Fighter, you know, characters like the Lever, they're very RPS heavy, right? Every single poke is basically poke throw, but Rixta makes it look like he's just reacting to all of these mix-ups, all of these RPS situations, in how consistently he shuts it down. But of course, that's just getting a good read on the opponent. Or getting lucky, you know, that's a part of it as well. I mean, lucky is a skill.
There was an element of the only part of that set that I think was luck was when he dropped that super combo and accidentally swept him into it and ended up getting the convert to take the game anyway. And then you're like, yeah, that was.
I mean, at the end of the day, right, it was very visibly going to drop, but after that situation, you still had a knockdown, and you were still in a situation where you then get to run the base RPS of this game. And whilst Ferry doesn't do it as well as some of the other characters, like, again, the other three, but she does it really very well, because she can, she can get good reward off of pretty much all the options other than universal overhead. But she has stuff like GG and being able to combo for throws to make up for that. And obviously, off of universal overhead, you get, on a counter hit, you actually get sweep into another GG summon. So it's not all doom and gloom. You definitely do get some good reward from it, because no character really wants to be underneath GG, let's be honest.
No. I mean, where do you think, I know it's still early doors, but in terms of DLC, and we're talking about the big three, where would you put Vegeta in this? Like, I'm not putting you on the spot or anything, but...
No, I don't worry. All I do is sit around talking and thinking about Granblue, so I have a pretty solid idea of where I would currently place her. I feel like Sora is going to take a lot more time to develop than the character like Vegeta.
We'll talk about him afterwards.
Vegeta has parallels to a lot of the other members of the cast, and specifically, she feels pretty much exactly as you'd expect a character that is a mix of Gran and Catalina to feel like in an environment where those characters have been nerfed in the way that Arxis is saying they're going to implement the nerfs on the top characters. Because basically, the top characters right now are the Beta 5 characters. And the Beta 5 characters basically don't follow the same fundamental rules as everyone else. As a result of that, they have, like, no recovery, which leads to them getting a lot more plus frames and absurdly hard to punish situations like Gran Light DP. Very, very hard to punish because it just has so little recovery. But one of the main things that they're targeting is their recovery. Specifically, as a result of them having really good recovery on their mediums, so close medium, Gran and Catalina and Lance, they all get plus frames from them. But Vegeta doesn't. She's actually even. She's neutral on block. And basically, she feels like a lot of her frame data is representative of what those top characters are going to feel like after the patch.
Okay, but, so it was like pre-planning, basically.
Yeah.
Vegeta's what they want the characters to feel like, rather than what they're like now before.
It definitely seems like it, based on everything that we know, everything that's always been broken about these characters. But it also shows the level of insight from Arc System Works. Like, they did this small patch, and they addressed some of the characters in the ways that they needed to be addressed, which was their recovery, their hitbox, hurtbox extension, and some of the buffering issues, which is great. And then they're talking about the context for the next patch in late April, which sounds, again, perfect. Bringing the top 5 characters back in line with the rest of the cast with recovery changes is going to make the game so much more healthy, because those top 4 characters really do push the rest of the cast down quite a lot. But with that said, Vegeta, she's going to be right up there when those characters get nerfed, because she is really good. Right now, in the current state of the game, I'd say she's 6th best, just behind Percival. and I feel relatively confident in saying that. Again, her frame data isn't necessarily as oppressive as a character like Gran's, but she has a great walk speed, great run speed, so making her tick throws
Dragon
really,
Punch.
really, really great. Yeah, she can combo off of DP as well.
Mm-hmm.
She has a
I
lot
found
of
that out
great,
today.
unique benefits to her that Gran doesn't have, and it's the same the other way around, right? Even post-patch, I think that Gran is going to have a lot of benefits over Vegeta, like, Boot's going to be ridiculous still. You're still going to get full bounces from Boot and stuff like that, stuff that Vegeta doesn't actually get. But Vegeta has a lot of her own positives, and her normals can feel a little bit more like Catalina's. For example, her 2M, it's really good. It's plus, I believe it's -1, if not it's neutral on block. And if a lot of her stuff feels a little bit oppressive in the same way as Catalina's in the mid range, but she also has some of the same stuff as Gran in the close range. So she's a really well-rounded character. In other words, take two of the best characters in the game, combine their good elements together. You're looking at a good character still.
Speaking of good characters, we've just
Bubs,
got
man.
yeah. I was
Seven
just
golden
about
letters.
to say.
Well, Bubs, not a good character. Definitely bottom 4 character.
Oh
But,
really?
yeah, for sure. But Bubs is basically the opposite end of the spectrum in that he has a lot of tools in the same way that, Percival, all these characters, the Shoto-esque characters. He has a Fireball, he has DP, he has all these tools that you need, but then he has some fundamental gaps in his kit that make him not great at capitalizing on them in the ways that the other characters in the cast can. And that makes him especially oppressed kind of by the other great characters in the game because they do the same game plan for the most part, but better. Like some of the unique things for Bubs, right, is his black hole, let's say.
Yeah.
But his black hole is relatively gimmicky in that most characters, if they just forward roll it, can hard punish it. Most characters can throw a DP that also getting sucked in and hard punish it, So once you know that, he basically, the more you know the matchup, the easier it is to deal with Bubs. But the one thing that no one can ever take away from this character is, man, his jumps are good. But his jump arc and his walk speed is really, really bad. So it's harder for him to take advantage of his great jumps as it is for a character like Percival. I feel like Percival is basically Bubs, but how Bubs is supposed to be.
Well, I mean, just looking at, as you were saying, matchup knowledge, I definitely think that that's playing an element in this game because
Yeah, it always does with Venom.
That Kanza might not be as familiar in this matchup because he's pressing buttons a lot when he shouldn't. I don't know. He's not really found an answer for the hold down projectiles yet. He's tried to roll a couple of times.
That's hard to deal with in neutral until you know how to, right? But I've seen like players literally just die exclusively to Venom doing this. The way that you deal with it's pretty simple.
Well, that's one way.
Yeah, but that's always one way. You can always just DP for it. But you have to respect the fact that he can hold it, and that means that, and you obviously can't super jump the medium and heavy one because it goes so high. So you're gonna have to super jump it like ahead of time, which means that you have to know exactly when it's coming out. So a rule of thumb is to hold block, and the longer he charges it, the less. Oh wow, supering on the. Yeah,
wow.
No, you can't hold that.
He didn't flinch.
Yeah, no, Venom's like, I don't care. Oh, you're just going to hold that and I'm just going to hit you. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, regardless. Basically, the way to deal with a Fireball is to understand that...
Oh, wow.
At the start, it's really strong. And as he charges it, obviously the Fireball itself is getting stronger. But the amount of timing that you have to worry about is getting shorter. So you're obviously always going to be looking to spot dodge and forward roll Fireballs to put them on cooldown effectively. But... with a character like Bubs, the longer he holds that Fireball, the less of a time window that there is to worry about when you're going for those forward rolls. But you see people like preemptively going for spot dodge and forward roll, predicting the Fireball to be thrown out. You can't. You have to wait. You have to pay respect. And then once it gets ticked down, Bubs has no choice towards the end but to throw it, right? That's when you do the preemptive forward roll to get a nice punish. Because he no longer has the luxury of holding it, He has to throw it.
Oh, wow. Speaking of holding it.
I mean, if you have that super, maybe it could have killed, But wow, there you go. Waited to see the projectile, then spot dodged, gets the far medium punish.
Because that's the thing as well. It's something that I fall afoul of a lot in this game is that forward rolls aren't as invulnerable as you want them to be. So if you start getting impatient and trying to forward roll through something that's as active as Bub's projectiles, you're going to forward roll into it every single time.
Yeah, another thing to notice, though, and to mention, is that forward roll isn't actually fully invuln.
No.
There's a hitbox, a hurtbox button, right down at the bottom of your feet, so characters with low-hitting fireballs, like Vasaraga, nice, good DP. He's adapting really well to the fireball now. Waiting and reacting, as opposed to preemptively doing stuff. That's how you deal with Bub's fireball.
Ooh, what a conversion.
But yeah, so stuff like Vasaraga, Percival Fireball, low hitting moves, they'll clip that low, that low hurt box and take you straight out of. Oh, nice, getting the jump.
Oh, jump!
That right there is a really good indicator of, being a little bit more comfortable in this matchup, because I've seen so many people's tournament careers get ended by Venom doing
I'm gonna end this man's whole
SBA.
career.
Unironically though, he's like won at least 20 matches that I've watched with SBA. It's ridiculous. But it's hard to react to, honestly. It really is. You can't react after the super flash. You have to have preemptively jumped.
Oh, nice conversion. Kanza didn't watch his feet.
Yeah, see, I love Bubs. Bubs has a lot of interesting stuff, but he's just lacking the walk speed and some of the extent, the hitbox extension to make him really feel oppressive. And another one of the big downsides of him is that he doesn't really get much from far buttons. So it's like impossible, even on counter hit sometimes, to combo off of his far light, off of his far medium, because his 214X, the big swings, they're so slow that it's really hard to confirm off of it. And as a result, it means that he kind of suffers in the mid range. Because with Catalina, it's as simple as you land a far medium, you do doesn't get him.
Jump.
Wow, nice.
2 reads.
So again, he would have had to do that preemptively. So props to him. But yeah, so with a character like Catalina, you can just do far M into EX Thrust, and there you go. But even mid-screen, that's a full combo. You're getting 50-60%. But Bubs really doesn't have that luxury. If he wants big damage combos, he's going to have to spend resources. He's going to have to get them in the corner. He's going to have to hit them with a hit that's close enough to them. And it can be a struggle sometimes, it really can. But one thing that we can compliment about him is that his neutral control is great with those really powerful jumps. Every time he jumps, it feels like a guess.
And the thing, I think his teleport's a little bit underrated as well.
Yeah, it is, but it's good at keeping people in check when they're throwing out long recovery buttons, especially characters like Fairy, where if they're throwing out these far heavies, you can kind of teleport in and get a punish on them. But it has 12 frames startup, and then after the teleport, it has 18 frames of recovery. So you really can't be throwing it out in neutral so much. You have to kind of throw it out, predicting them to do something. You throw it out with the intent of catching them committing to something that they shouldn't be committing to. You can't really throw it out just as it sounds. Nice forward roll into SBA. Monster. I gotta say, Kanza really isn't playing poorly. Overall, he's just being kind of done in by a little bit of a lack of matchup knowledge.
And he started to be impatient again. It's like we saw with.
Yeah, he gets a bit flustered.
Yeah, it's like we saw against Ft.Rixta. They were in that first game. You saw him being a bit more patient. Taking his turn when he can take it. Maybe being a bit more cautious on the advance, and then he started just running into standing H's and very mixed up. And it's sort of been the same here. He started to do a good job in that second game of dealing with the Venom fireballs, but now we can see again he's been clipped by every single time. There we see the spot dodge, your preemptive spot dodge gets him clipped, preemptive anti-air. Bub's dive kick is really tough.
Forward roll into SBA again. Yeah. The exact same sequence, getting the 7 golden letters again. My God, though, that was clean. I'm not sure. Is Percival going for a throw there, or is it far? Yeah, is it close light, or is it
He's going for throw. So I think what he's reading is spot dodge, or maybe
just regular throw.
Yeah, he's expecting the regular throw.
Trying to throw tech.
Yeah, and he's trying to throw tech and just gets completely blown up by the.
Universal Overhead has throw and Vuln on frame 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you reckon it has throw and Vuln that beats super throws like Bubs?
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. I guess it depends on how fast is the startup.
Well, I guess that's true as well. Yeah, no, never mind. it's definitely fast enough to not care.
Because Ladiva's one, you probably wouldn't be able to do it to Ladiva's one.
No, you definitely can't. Because again, it's 4 frames to get into the throw and Vuln, but I believe Ladiva's is 3 frames.
Oh, dang.
Oh, wait, yeah, gets the chip out there, damn.
Wait, is this the second or the third game?
This is the second one.
So it's the second one.
Yeah, we're at match point now. It's a little bit hard to see with the scoreboard, but yeah, we are. At match point with Kanza finally taking his first round, I believe.
I think Venom's trolling a little bit though, because at the end of that last game, or at the end of a couple of rounds where he's been ahead, he's just sat full screen and done like the down, you know, is it the quarter circle back X where he does the spinneroonie. He just sat full screen and done that. So I don't know how seriously Venom's taking it anymore after he's smashed Kanza the first 2 games. But I mean, he's got to be careful because Kanza definitely pulled one out that last
He knows
game.
what he's doing. But right there, right? Venom fully charged that fireball, so you know it's coming. You know it's coming, so you can preemptively do a forward roll, do a DP, something like that. But it's really being familiar with this matchup, you know? Because once you know Bub's tools, you know his downsides, he really doesn't have that much sauce. But until you do, he is a really saucy character. Because he has so many ways to just open you up, you know? Keep you honest.
Well, especially as we were saying with Free as well.
Go, nice.
Wow, nice. 3 for 3. A nice confirm. There you go.
But yeah, at the same time, he wouldn't have to worry about this situation, like, ever, if he was doing DP or if he was doing forward roll on the Black Hole calls. Black Hole is honestly such a weird enigma of a move. It's got double the cooldown of most of the moves in the game, but it's less useful than most of the moves in the game as well. It's really perplexing to me. I have no idea what's up with it.
That's the curse of the boss character, isn't it? When you've got the boss character and then you want to put them in the game, you're like, wow, we can't make him how he is as a boss, so we've got to tone everything down.
Oni.
So, yeah, Oni, I mean, Shin Akuma and God Regal in CVS 2. Whenever you put
Shao Kahn and MK.
Yeah, you've always, well, he's
got some sauce these days, yeah.
Well, he's got a little bit, but he's definitely at the lower end of the spectrum. But I was going to say, it's a good point. Yeah, I think that's what they did with Bub as well. They didn't want to give him too much juice because then he'd have just been cracked, and you'd basically.
I don't know, but you could also just argue that all the male DLC characters are getting shafted, you know?
Yeah, oh mate.
Bubs, now Sora's? I don't know, man. Something's going on. Male characters don't sell, you see.
We'll talk about Sora's in the break of the next match, but yeah, I think with the balance patch, as you said as well, Arxer seems to be doing a very good job of identifying which characters need to be tweaked in certain ways. So I'm sure that
nice, yeah, base the DP.
And so I'm sure that at the end of April, we're going to start seeing a bit more of a comprehensive change towards characters like Bub that, like, you know, like who really struggle in certain areas.
Yeah, see, the thing is with Bubs is that some of the changes that he needs, right, there'll be to Black Hole. He'll need some changes to his movement speed and stuff like that, and they'll need to make it. Wow, damn! Teleport straight out of there.
Oh, it was a bait.
He'll need some changes to his walk speed, his jump arc, his Black Hole, and being able to confirm more consistently from far buttons. I feel like that's all Bubs really needs. But the issue with a character like Sora's is that he, in a very fundamentals-based game, he is missing, on a very big scale, fundamental tools. There are very big fundamental gaps in his game plan. He has no real way to do it. He has no real reversals. It gives him damage reduction, but most characters in this game kill from around about 50 to 40%. Yeah. So you don't even have a chance to get into SSBA more often than not. On top of that, he doesn't have that many ways to generate plus frames. A lot of his pressure leads to them being pushed too far back, and if they're not pushed too far back, you can also just elect to take the hit on 236L to be pushed back even further. You take a little bit more damage, but that's the end of Sora's turn. And Sora's has to work very hard to get those turns, so...
Oh, mate, don't. Honestly, so today was the first day that I've, like, really put it, because I've been practicing a lot in practice mode, you know, getting a confirm here or there, etc., etc. And today's the first day that I've gone into ranked, and I've really, like, you know, gone into ranked and gone to lobbies and tried to fight it out. He's a super fun character to play, right? And they've done a really good job with his personality. All of his moves feel like a character.
Yeah, his animations are sick.
Yeah, and he feels like a character whose like whole gimmick is just to punch you in the face. Like he's got the power geyser, he's got the dash punch, you know, he's got the big. His SSBA is the best in the game. Free, I'll fight anyone.
Diaper mode.
No, the punch after the.
Okay.
Yeah.
His SBA, not his SSBA. I don't like his SSBA, dude. He just puts on a diaper, starts running around.
No,
you know?
the unblockable punch. You know, the pencil outline one.
Yeah.
You don't like the punch?
It's all right.
It's so good.
I don't think it's the best SSBA. Like, come on, man. We have Ladiva's SSBA out here. That one's real sick.
Okay. As an old diva main, I'll accept that. But Yeah, they've done such a good job with his personality, but I saw somebody say online, I think it might have been Giuna, said that you could tell that they wanted him to play a certain way, but they were scared about him being too good.
Yeah, too good at it. Because again, that's the issue, right? With a character like Soris, where you're taking away fundamental tools from his kit, way to then supplement that is to artificially put strength into his buttons, into his frame data, into his specials, you know, to artificially put strength into his kit, because his kit is lacking. It's missing ways to deal with fireballs, ways to threaten from full screen, stuff like that. You know, it is lacking some areas. So the only way to then balance that is to give him artificial strength that can be really hard to balance. I mean, look at a character like Johnny. Johnny has a lot of gaps in his play, but his tools are so strong to make up for those gaps that he can feel great at pretty much every distance in the game. I'm pretty sure that they just didn't want Soris to feel like that. Like, for example, even if they gave him +1 on block for his punches, even, you know, EX punches, like, again, they seem to have they seem to have just tamed everything about Soris to the point where some of Soris's best source, it all requires the corner, but he doesn't have the best corner carry. He doesn't have the best anti-airs. He doesn't have the best anti-air confirms, but that's where most of his damage comes from, because basically he has no ways to force juggles mid-screen, which is where his damage really lacks. So you need an anti-air to be able to get that juggle for you to take them, you know, to get some corner carry, or you need the corner so that you can knock them up and then you can use that juggle state to keep them in the damage.
Yeah, or go for like a bait counter hit overhead and then get loads of damage.
Weirdly enough, though, his best stuff seems to be going for like combo limits into resets, kind of similar to Lancelot, because then he can do, so let's say he juggles you twice in the corner and then he does like a neutral jump and you have to take a 50-50, and he can loop that if he gets a hit off the 50-50, and he gets pretty decent damage and he can kind of loop that. But how on earth are you getting them to the corner as Soris, you know?
No, I mean, speaking of lower tier characters as well,
Vass.
Yeah, I mean, again, another character who's sort of got touched a little bit.
Big buffs, actually.
Yeah.
I feel like Vass is arguably the biggest winner of the patch, aside from maybe Percival. But with that said, a lot of these characters, weirdly, they, like, the main characters that got changed are Percival, Vasaraga, Luane, Matera, and Zeta. And all of these characters kind of have interesting matchups with each other. So whilst a lot of them, you know, they got good changes, so did all of their opponents, you know, all the characters that they were beating.
Just so it was easy.
Yeah, it kind of mixes everything up. But Vasaraga, he got some really nice changes to his recovery, to his startups. And I genuinely think the character was already, nice.
Wow. Get the hell off.
Coolest SBA in the game. Coolest SBA in the game. Easily. Look at how sick that is. But yeah, Vass, I feel like, was already being slept on. I feel like tournament results have shown that he was being slept on. He's a really solid character. He has some really big issues, though. But that's, you know, that's game design done correctly.
I think
he has some really positive strengths, really positive weaknesses.
Yeah, I think that's with the lower tiers in inverted commas, is they require more work.
Yeah, because they have their game plan, right? Yeah. Unlike the top tiers, who can just do everything and do it better than most characters, the lower tier characters, they have their game plan that they have to execute, but they have pitfalls, you know, they have gaps in their game plan.
Oh, wow.
Overall.
Instant air light there.
JP is really nice on Vass, but maybe not like that.
I mean, that would be like a good end of round, like cheeky instant air.
Yeah, because you get no confirm, and even if you're on hit, you just kind of.
I mean, he just got punished. I was going to say he got punished on hit, but Kanza doing a much better job this round. I mean, wow.
I honestly think this is one of the worst matchups for Vass. Can't lie.
Completely no sold that super.
Because both of them like to sit full screen, trying to, there you go. That's not what you want to see, but Better's taking it. Both of them kind of want to sit mid to full screen, right?
I was going to say that was
to get their stocks, to get their game plan going. But assuming that Vasaraga gets his stocks, he gets a bit of armor. Assuming that Percival gets his stocks, he gets ways to blow through that armor like it's nothing. With DP, with Fireball, he goes straight through it.
They all become multi-hitting moves, don't they?
Yeah.
So, oh wow. Tick throw into command, tick into command throw, corner pressure. I mean, Vasaraga's quite scary in the corner, especially if you start to jump in.
Quite scary? Hell no, he's the scariest character in the game, man. You get touched by anything, you're losing 60%. You know, not saying that Catalina and Grando do the exact same thing, but you do.
It's cooler when it's a giant dude with a scythe.
And like every hit has so much impact to it. But with that said, Vasaraga, characters like Vasaraga and Soris, they're supposed to get more reward mid-screen than most characters. but the Sora's really doesn't. Whereas Vasaraga, he definitely does. He gets a counter hit with one of his stance moves. He takes you to the corner. He takes you like 60% from mid screen. It's really fun to see that stuff happen. Yeah, brilliant spot dodge, because that's how you deal with Percivals that want to throw out that far medium and that far heavy. Because his mid range buttons are really good, especially because all the special cancel options he has, he can special cancel into DP to call you out going for a reversal or something like that, trying to jump out of the buttons, etc. But what do you do when they spot dodge your far, your far normal, they spot dodge your far medium, they spot dodge your far heavy, and all of a sudden you can't special cancel. You're just sitting there in the recovery. And that was a big issue with Percival, but obviously now some of his recovery has been toned down a little bit, so he has a slightly better time of it.
I mean, Benez is just doing a really good job of just making sure that Kanza can't get anything started. But as we say that, big fireball.
Oh,
he didn't
super
do
on the
throw,
throw.
did he?
Yeah. Absolutely smoked.
Destroy the world. I mean, he could live, right? He might be alive.
Nah. Probably dead.
I
reckon he might be.
But
yeah, Benez is a phenomenal player, man. If we're talking about low tier characters, Vasaraga's definitely down there. I don't feel like he's ever I don't feel that there was ever a single point in the game where he was low A tier. Some people did. He's not. He's not even close. Especially after the buffs. He's still solid A tier. I feel like the lowest tiered character in the game is Lowain in B tier, because every character is still relatively good, so that's why they're sitting up in B tier. But Vas, he's definitely got some sauce. He's very far away from him. But he does have some definite issues, especially with matchups. The matchups against the top characters in the game just really aren't pretty. And all of that stems from his buttons not being fast enough, really, to compete with a lot of them, or having the frame advantage that they do.
Well, I mean, we're starting to see a bit more adaptation.
Yeah, Kanza's running his game. Because this is really what should be going on. Again, oh, wow. See so much panic coming out. We're seeing how flustered he gets.
Yeah, and we've seen that before
all we're doing is seeing him stomp towards him, and we see him do two jumps in neutral into super,
Do you think that's a matchup thing as well, though? Because that's the second time he's done that now, is maybe he thinks that the armor, or like the strength of an SBA or an SSBA will beat the armor of the...
Yeah, but that's just not how that works, because Vasaraga can
not.
specifically go into the U stance to have an infinite amount of armor.
Yeah.
It's to smoke anything in the game. So that's definitely not what you want to be doing. It's just, again, a clear gap in matchup knowledge, because Percival has great ways to deal with armor, He has his Fireball, he has DP, he has great ways to deal with the armor and the stomps from Vasaraga. Better than a lot of the characters in the cast, to be honest. He really doesn't have that much of a problem with it. But we're seeing time and time again that Kanza's being put against these characters that definitely have an element of a knowledge check to them, Yeah. You will get smoked by Vasaraga if you don't know Vasaraga stuff.
I can count on one hand the amount of Vasaragas and Bubs I've fought online. So if you don't have like a good training partner...
Yeah, luckily. Again, I get to watch events all the time, get to commentate them, get to think about all this stuff. And also, I had a sparring partner who played Vasaraga. So I know how to deal with this stuff a little bit.
That's how you learn, though, man. It's just
get
over
smoked.
and over again. Yeah. You're like, well, so, hang on a minute. So how do I challenge that? And that didn't work. All right, time to try it again. So we're seeing a little bit of that from Kanza here, but...
Yeah, he has adapted a couple of times. Like, he DPs through the stance sometimes. There you see the stomp. That's him doing the U version, which has an infinite amount of armor. But knowing how to deal with stomp itself is really important. There you go.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing. Multi-hit fireball.
Fireball.
But even without that, some characters don't have the luxury of these multi-hit moves. It's still not impossible to deal with stomps. Basically, the situation is just, if he stomps towards you and he's close enough, you can throw him out of it. But if he goes for a button, that's going to... Oh, wow, he takes it. Nice. Whipping the universal overhead, but taking him below. But yeah, so basically, if he's stomping towards you, he's close to you. If you throw, you can throw him out of it if he's close enough. But if he presses a button, that's going to smoke your throw. But if you wait until you see the button and spot dodge, you win that interaction, because he's stuck in recovery, you get a free punish. So it really is a ticking time bomb for Vasaraga, weirdly,
That's how I learned the matchup. I used to play Ladiva before Soritz, and I played my mate who's...
Yeah, you have to hold that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just tried everything. I was like, all right, he's armoring towards me. Can I command grab him? And you can. I was like, all right, thank God. And then you start getting pressure back again. But that's, I mean, Kanza. He did a throw again, didn't he? Oh no, he blocked it this time. Nice. So Kanza on the board, 3-1. I mean,
yeah, we're seeing him adapt, right? He finally did EX Fireball to just smoke that armor.
But that's what with that's what in that match specifically, Kanza just didn't let Benners get anything started. He had him in the corner. He had him on the left side of the screen in the first round and the right side of the screen in the second round. And
that's really what you want to see, you know? Because at the end of the day, Vasaraga shouldn't really get... Like, I don't see any situations in which Vasaraga can really get anything going. It's not like against a character, let's say Ferry, right? Where one good shoulder charge on her whip means that you're in and you can start running your offense against a Ferry. There's no real opportunity like that for Vasaraga, as well, you know, just assuming that the Percival plays it patiently. Percival has great ways to shut down all of Vasaraga's stuff. There you go, just swinging into it. I'm not sure if he whiffed the DP there or if he just...
I think maybe he wanted to special cancel the standing medium into something else, but...
Yeah, but there's no point. Just throw the EXDP, you know?
Oh, goes a big dash.
Yeah, there you go. Going straight through that stagger.
And Benners has done that twice.
Very consistently, yeah. The thing is, though, is that if we're watching when Kanza actually gets the pressure going, a lot of the time it's going, you know, button, 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 straight into universal overhead, etc. It's never anything that doesn't really lose that. He never does spot dodge, he never does. Oh, DP cancel.
Just got his legs scythed, literally scythed from under him.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you don't know what to look out for, all of the stances can be really terrifying. Because even if you know what to look out for and you're in the corner in a situation like this, he can throw you, which will beat spot dodge, so it adds another layer to the RPS. But in a situation like that, you know, you just have to wait until you see Vasaraga swing from stance, and you just go straight into the spot dodge, get a free punish. It's, again, matchup awareness and awareness in general.
Yeah.
You can't have an awareness of these situations until you know what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now we just see Benners just literally just a complete reversal from the last game where Kanza had Benners in the corner the whole time. Now we just see, because I mean, Vasaraga is one of the few characters whose normals are almost similar range to Percival.
Yeah, I would say so. And I believe the attack level on Vasaraga's far heavy is one higher than Percival's. So assuming that they both swing far heavy, Vasaraga is going to win that.
Oh, what a backdash!
Yeah, see, this is what I mean, though. There are answers to it, and he's finally showing us some of them, but this is going to be in dying.
Oh,
that saying,
really conclusive.
At the end of the day, right? We've got Vasaraga, all of these low and Bubs, these low tier characters that really benefit from the low tier buff of you. But I bet Ben is sighing a sigh of relief there, getting that, because of what, you know, he pick up on some good habits 100%. Against Vasaraga. So
we saw him fireballing the armor, we saw him dragon punching the armor. You know, Kanza definitely did a much better job there, and especially when he won that game that he did win, it just a really good offensive pressure that just stopped Benners from doing anything. But
he lost the last one, but he was still showing some good signs. I think that he should be way more willing in general to throw out DPs. He needs to make Vasaraga respect it. You know, every time that Vasaraga was going for far heavy to keep Percival honest in that corner, each and every single one of them could have been responded to with Dragon Punch, you know? And it only takes one to make him fear doing that.
I feel like, and I mean this, I'm not speaking for Kanza here or his mindset specifically, but I feel like a lot of the time when a character has a Dragon Punch, I feel like they don't... Sometimes people don't want to use them a lot because they feel like, oh, maybe it's... Oh, dang. From the top to the bottom.
Banners, man. I've seen this in tournament before, and this is a really interesting matchup. Because obviously, Vasaraga, there you go. Really hard for him to ever get in on Ferry. And he probably is one of the worst characters at dealing with the zoning, with the poor walk speeds, with the poor jump arcs. It can be a real pain. Yeah, there you go, you're dead because the rebeats. The GG, never mind, drops. I mean,
come on, please
takes out the DP, but I mean,
please come
he's
back.
At full screen, gets the charge. There you go. This is what you want to see. Doesn't win the RPS there though. Now you spent all your resources. Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
Oh man, if he just come back there.
I mean, it was near impossible once he didn't get that stomp mix. If he won that stomp mix and maybe got command throw or something into the corner, I could have seen it. But nah, doesn't end up doing it. But yeah, so this matchup screwed up. Vasaraga really struggles to deal with Ferry zoning. But obviously, if Vasaraga gets in, Ferry being the squishiest character in the game means that he hurts. He really
one
does.
Touch into 40%.
Yeah, I mean, he has unironic 90% confirms on Ferry. That's 90% of a health bar in one touch. He has some stuff. But and right here we get to see exactly what I want to be seeing, right? Him Ah, damn. Gets the air
I
to
can
air. Now he has to
say,
play
yeah.
neutral again. This is what you want to see. You don't
But
want
that
to
was
see him
a-
playing neutral.
But that was really good by Rixta not to commit to a button there when on that jump because.
Oh, yeah, but ferry jump is so safe. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's true.
You jump, you can kind of float, you can alternate where you're going to land, you can cancel it to 6 you to just yeet off into the middle of the screen.
Oh,
Ferry's
mate.
jump is probably the safest jump in the game, but it's not the best offensive jump in the game. She doesn't have any good cross-up options, stuff like
No.
that, you know? But in terms of just getting out of bad situations,
Oh,
yeah, it's real good and
damn.
gets the air to air.
And that was like the mirror of the same situation, only that time.
Yeah,
committed.
except that time Benners was already at full screen. So there's only one way for it to go, right? Best case scenario for him, he does for you, and he just retreats straight back down to the ground. But nah, Benner's calling it out, jumping straight up to meet him in the middle of the screen.
Venom is. I mean, I've not seen many really good Vasaragas, but oh wow, good use
Yeah.
of the armor there.
Unironically, I think he's the best Vasaraga in Europe. I haven't seen any that contest him. Padu, I'm not sure if you're aware of who Padu is, but Padu was a really good Vasaraga. But he's moved over to Matera as of this patch, so.
Oh, they're similar. He was just sick of being kept out. He's like, you know what?
Ironically, I believe it was something like that. Here we go. It's a really rough situation, but Ben is dealing with it
I
correctly.
was just about to say, even with Benners, even from Benners from playing from this far away, he never looks like he's apart from that first game where he got absolutely mauled. He seems still to be really comfortable playing this matchup from full screen.
Because Ferry doesn't actually have anything to get in full screen. The only thing she can do at that point is throw GG like this, and then try and keep him there. But Benners understands that and walks forwards in response to GG so that he doesn't get, you know, like I talked about earlier, gets locked out at with Rixta standing at the other end of the screen so that there's no way he can go. He understands that if he walks forwards, he can deal with that. But also, because she has no buttons full screen, he's basically just looking to wait for her to whiff one of those buttons at full screen, because it can't hit him full screen, and then he gets a shoulder charge through the button, it'll smoke the button, and then he's on top of Ferry, you know? And he gets to run his offense.
Oh, wow.
So that's why you see Rixta not really doing anything at full screen. He's just kind of standing there. But that's how you result in a match that's coming down to the wire. Next to no time left, but, you know, Benner's taking a health lead.
I mean,
He sits full screen, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, this is where, I mean, and this is the stance. Oh.
One more touch. Good. Good tech. There you go.
Wow.
Brilliant.
I've never seen a Vasaraga. I've not seen many Vasaragas, but I've never seen a timeout.
I mean, that's the matchup. Unironically, that's this matchup.
No, but that's
it's
just what
about
we said
being
there.
super patient. And again, it's the opposite, right? With Ferry, she's a top tier. With Vasaraga, he's a bottom tier. So matchup unfamiliarity works in favor of the lower tiers. But also, people being really familiar with your matchups against high tiers is a big thing. Benners, he must have been struggling against so many Ferries that he's just been sitting around playing this matchup for so long that he's really come to terms with how to deal with it with Vass.
Good tick throw.
Like,
Yeah,
it might
I
not
mean,
be easy, but showing that you can make it work.
But I think that is a key thing with a lot of characters in this game outside the top tier, just being able to play in a really patient way. Because if you do commit to something and you make that mistake, they punish you so hard for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ben is just playing really well. As I say, he's playing patient.
Yeah, he has a great awareness of how to deal with this matchup, and this is why I was kind of hyped when I saw this matchup coming up. Is because I've seen it before, you know. I know that Benners is a great player. He has a great understanding of how to deal with Ferry. But I also know that Rixta, in turn, has an understanding of, you know, the limitations of Ferry's kit. For example, we saw her throwing no buttons. In that full screen situation, in that timed out round, we saw no buttons getting thrown out. Occasionally, full screen GGs to try and force Benners to walk forwards into Ferry's button range. But other than that, just nothing, right? If he didn't eat that confirm into super, he would have had that round so easily. But, you know, oh wow,
getting command throw.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. But that's, I mean, Benners is sort of playing the Ferry game of, you know, trying to hit you with something from, say, mid to far screen. But he's doing it with just shoulder tackle.
That's what you got to do.
His shoulder tackles have been so precise. It's insane. He sniped him 3 or 4 times in that round.
Well, because again, all he's really doing is sitting full screen, where Ferry's buttons, they cannot reach full screen. So all he's doing is sitting full screen, making sure that he's never getting walked to the corner, though. That's an important part, because then obviously Ferry can start pressuring you at her own range. But, you know, he's sitting full screen, making sure that he can react to any button that he does foolishly throw out with shoulder charge on the recovery. Because obviously, one of the big things that... Wow, Jesus! Okay, so
you can only
put a block, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, he's going to get hit anyway. It doesn't really matter, but he gets... you know, pretty much out scot-free, blocking all of a Ferry install. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that. You know, I've seen them mash out, I've seen them get out of it with a reversal, but I've
Yeah,
never
if you've
seen
got
someone
DP.
just block it. Oh, gets the command throw. Now Ferry's in the corner, and again,
Another command
throw. Can we see one more?
We're going to see a Dragon Punch, I think.
No,
Oh,
but that's the thing.
there we go.
There you go,
I
lovely.
mean, it was only a matter of time. You don't want to. Once you start getting oppressed like that, and as you said that with the RPS game, the last thing you want is for you just to be stomping on you in the corner.
Yeah, but the thing is with Ferry, right, is that in this matchup, is that she really has to be careful throwing out that DP, because once she's used that, if you know Benez manages to block it, more so than the fact that you know it's now taking a chunk of damage from the punish, you don't have that DP, which is when Benez can really run his offense on you. Ferry, again, she gets blown up really easily. She doesn't have the best mid-range buttons. Vasaraga eats her alive at those ranges. So you see people complaining about matchups like this, matchups like the Diva against Ferry, saying it's 80-20 and stuff like that, but hell no, it's not. You know, it's more like a 60-40 matchup, because whilst the Ferry definitely has the advantage, if she makes one mistake, if she gets hit by a 2U by La Diva or a shoulder charge by Vasaraga, she will get absolutely blown up. And then it all comes down to the DP, right? So at least she has one. But if she didn't, these matchups would be very messed up. Taking the plus frames on the GG, getting the low into the kill. Damn.
And that was really good counter adaptation from Rixta there. We saw instead of saying back like he did in the last game, which was sort of what Ben wanted to play, that more patient game, Rixta started to play much more aggressively. And,
so Rixta does this like mental check with people, unironically, where when someone's starting to play patiently against him, he attempts to see if they actually able to commit to that playstyle and play that playstyle correctly by playing really patiently himself. You know, he doesn't feel pressure to do any buttons. But when a player like Sump and when a player like Benez ends up actually beating him at that playing lame style, he realizes that he has to turn on the gas. And that's when, for example, we saw Ferry walking Vasaraga to the corner. Wow, speaking of, wow, goes for the spot dodge, trying to bait out the reversal there. And yeah, you don't really want to be jumping, because if you jump when GG is summoned, you're going to fall onto GG and you'll end up air blocking. But obviously, buttons, ground buttons in this game are air unblockable. So if you're air blocking GG, you're just going to get hit by a close heavy that's literally unblockable. You know, I mean, what else? Ferry's got unblockables.
But that was just really good counter adaptation mid game by Rixta, because he was getting absolutely mauled at the start. And then...
you really have to assume that Benez was going. But I don't know. Benez looked like he was going really well. He had a good health lead, but then one back throw, and that's all that needed to happen.
Saying that, this is like the last round, but without Rixta being able to get the back throw.
Yeah. So going back to what we were saying earlier about Rixta, you know, he's playing patiently, but now he's forcing Benez into a situation. This is the Rixta switch, right? He's realized that playing patiently probably not going to work against Benez, so he has to put on the gas, and he has to basically walk Benez to the corner, because again, Benez has an understanding that at full screen, he's fine. But in order to stay full screen, you got to walk backwards. Ooh. And there's only so much walking backwards you can do before Ferry can start pressuring you with those buttons. But Benez, again, taking a health lead, then returning to playing really patiently, because Rixta, again, is then forced to have to do risky stuff on offense. Have to try and pressure Benez, where he can get a straight hit like that and take a round.
But this is what I love about when you any high level fighting game, but in a game like Grand Blue as well, yeah, the adaptation, but the speed of the adaptations.
Yeah,
you know, when you see
what separates the great players from the good players.
I mean, we're not even seeing adaptations in sets. We're seeing adaptations in rounds. So one round you'll see. I mean, we've seen Benez deal with GG by doing the shoulder.
Oh wow, yeah, command throw, taking the 2-1.
Yeah, we saw Benez dealing with GG originally by dashing through basically shoulder charging through GG before it activated, you know, to prevent Rixta from pressing a button. Then Rixta realized that and, you know, started to check the shoulder tackles or started to jump over the shoulder tackles. And now we're seeing Benez having to adapt to that, and it's just absolutely
layers on layers.
Yeah,
but that's the thing, especially for a character like Vasaraga and Ferry. Like, weirdly enough, Ferry plays and has a lot of the same situations as low tier characters in this game, but she's really fucking good. But Vasaraga definitely is a low tier, and the low tiers, they really have to, you know, use every single tool in their kit.
It's honest, isn't it? As honest as it can get. I mean, they all have shenanigans, but
well, yeah, every character in this game has mad sauce. Like, if you put any of the low tiers in this game into another fighting game, they're like high tiers instantly.
Yeah, but I mean, that is testament to the game itself. outside of the top 3, maybe the balance between the rest of the characters. Oh, obviously there is a distinctive tier list. Dang, still a lot of damage, but I'd say they're still pretty close in terms of balance.
Because again, even the fun thing about this game is that even though characters have relatively varying, wow, then mine we're getting shoulder charge, one more mix up.
Oh,
DP.
get off me!
There you go. You see him jumping back there to force him into full screen.
Nice, and that's the first time we've seen the overhead.
Yeah, but that was really smart, right? The EXEG's coming out. He jumped back to make it sure that he's full screen, so that, you know, Bennett can't walk anywhere to lock him down with that GG pull. But yeah, what we were saying was about, you know, the characters and their strength. What's that? Because it is a very fundamentals-based game. There is going to be like a notable difference in the characters, but all of the matchups in this game, because all the characters have their own dirt, are winnable, and it makes for some really expressive gameplay. I feel in a very simple fundamentals-based game that, you know, it doesn't have a lot of complexity. The depth is phenomenal, and
Yeah,
I feel it leads to really expressive gameplay for.
And it's only been 1 month, so.
Wow, yeah, PS4's been about for a little bit longer than that, but
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm doing it by Steam, but yeah, so 2 months. Dang, super straight through GG.
Yeah, well, again, we saw Rixta going for the spot dodge there to beat that out, but oh wow, gets the Momo.
I think that's it.
Yeah, look, should be. So Rixta went for a spot dodge there, right? Calling out the one and only reversal that Vasaraga has, which is a super. But Vasaraga obviously didn't commit to anything there, but then reacted to the spot dodge with a late super activation in the same way as, you know, late DP works in RPS to smoke the spot dodge afterwards. But Rixta taking another round, tying it back up to 2-2. This is really anyone's game. And
close.
On paper, this matchup is really screwed up. And Rixta is a phenomenal player, right? So this should be a washout. But it's not, because this game is so freaking cool. And one touch, one correct play from Benners can lead to the round being over.
I mean, yeah, he's got a massive life deficit here, but he's definitely not out. Still got a little bit of a way to go before he builds his super, though, but...
Massive life deficit, but you gotta remember, Vasaraga, tanky boy. Very squishy person. It can really mean that 1 or 2 touches can really change what... Oh, gets hit by the overhead, though.
Oh, but doesn't combo in. Mid drops a combo. Oh,
there, damn it. Reverse beats, rebeats, you got everything you need to keep him under pressure. Don't press a button against me.
And that's the thing as well.
I'm a beta character. You don't get to press buttons.
Don't you know what my frames are? Sheet. But, yeah, when it comes to Vasaraga as well, he gets a lot of damage off that massive anti, and you see Rixta just jumping at really good ranges so that he doesn't get clipped by it.
Ferry's the master of not getting anti-ed. Ferry and Lance, weirdly enough, 2 really good characters, masters of not being anti-ed.
You just don't want to catch that 2H to the side of the head.
The risk-reward really isn't in your favor. Even though the reward is like 70%, it's still not in your favor because she has so many good options to keep herself safe. But with that said, Rixta starting to look more and more dominant here, but one more touch is going to do it.
Just about to say, wait,
DP.
I swear to you, the words were coming out of my mouth. Watch the DP.
Again, Rixta making it look like there's no guessing involved, you know? Straight up just, he's going to run at me here. I'm going to DP.
But I think that's a key thing for really good fairy plays. Like Chargy does it a lot as well. I swear, when I commentated the Gibbs tournament a couple of weeks ago that Chargy won, he must have thrown out 100 DPs. I think he hit 99 of them. So
yeah, the thing is about Chargy is that Chargy plays very differently to Rixta. Chargy is a lot less like he doesn't play RPS. He DPs because he's not playing that game. He doesn't want to play that game. Get off of me right now. He just kind of commits to options, right? So for example, you see him going for a lot more safe jumps into mix-ups instead of GG RPS. That's because he doesn't really tend to play RPS as much as a player like Rixta does. Whereas Rixta, he has a good understanding of these rock paper scissors situations. He has a good understanding of the tendencies of his opponents, and he kind of makes it look like he's doing them, again, it's in a really committal way, but that is specifically just to call out the opponent. Whereas I feel like Chargy, regardless of his opponent, regardless of the situation, he was going to do that. He's committing to it. He's making that call out. And, you know, he's usually right. Not going to lie. he's pretty good at the game. What I mean. He has a good intuition, but I feel like it's a lot more feels-based than Rixta. And again, that just leads to same character,
different play styles.
Different play styles, very expressive gameplay.
I mean, we're just seeing this. This is looking
Yeah,
more like
now,
thinks it's
now
going
Rixta's
to be.
turning on the gas. He's starting to use all of
And
the
that's
tools
it.
in the box, and it's perfect. Earlier, we were seeing him being respectful, letting Benners play that patient game, being afraid of Benners getting that shoulder charge, taking the round essentially for free off of a single hit. But now he's saying, wait a second,
I don't have to deal with this
my
at
character's
all.
better.
Yeah.
Why am I letting you? Why am I scared of your offense when I could just be running mine?
I
Basaraga
mean,
doesn't have great defensive tools. Doesn't have good
no.
Abare button.
No
He's obviously really
reversal.
tall as well. He doesn't have reversal tools. He really struggles on defense and really fast. And
But Ben has still played 6.
no,
That
again,
was a fun
you don't
set
usually
to
see Vasaraga's able to deal with top players playing Ferry, like ever. But Benners is a phenomenal player. He really is.
I think, I mean, the beauty thing, as we were saying, we've said it a lot, and I know that we're going, but I think this is a really well balanced game. I just hope that they don't go too far with nerfing the top tiers.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
right.
Clearly they need to be
Brought in line. There are just unique
normalized.
things about them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That
they
other
need to
characters
be
don't have.
normalized.
They're playing their own game, and it's just because of beta health. They were drawn up. They are what they are, and then they made the rest of the characters, and there was a clear
Clear
difference
line.
there. Yeah.
But I don't want them to I don't want it to be like, oh, when the April patch comes, and then Grand can't combo into something ridiculous. You see Grand damage.
No wall bounce off of EX boot and less counter hit. Stuff like that.
I just don't want it. I just don't want it to be.
Yeah, I doubt that's what they're gonna do.
No, I don't think.
If you look at Arc System works historically, at least Team Red. Look at games like Guilty Gear, DragonBall, etc. They're big proponents of balance by buffing and controlled chaos. All the characters are good. Some characters, same with, but they do change things up, and they do understand when something's a little bit too strong, and they nerf it in kind. Let's have a look at GT Goku. So a lot of his Genki Dama Roki is gone.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, and I know a lot of people weren't a massive fan of this at the start, but I think the fact that there's not tons of characters when the game was initially released means that they can spend more time dealing with balance issues and trying to make each character, they can be as close as they can in terms of trying to solve every problem. Whereas now, because there's only 14, 15 characters in the game,
That's 15 right now, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be much easier for them to take each.
Like me, I had Stream Puff, and pretty much the
Oh my
other
gosh.
great Lowen as my sparring partner, right? He basically taught me how to play Grand Blue.
I got absolutely mauled by Stream Puff. Actually, in this Kumite when I played the last, because again, just to talk about playing characters different ways. Equinox's Lowen and Stream Puff's Lowen are two very different. I mean, they're both really good, but
Stream Puff's weird, man. He basically plays Lowen because he wants Millia mix-up. Other than that, he doesn't really care for the character. But as a result, he basically just relies entirely on his really good fundamentals to then get his offense running. Whereas Equinox is kind of the opposite, right? I feel like he isn't necessarily all focused on neutral and just playing fundamentally really well. He's all focused on, I want my mix-ups, I want my setups, I want to run those gimmicks. Yeah. Whereas Stream Puff, he's like, I want to play the game, but I'm playing this character who has all these gimmicks. Help. He's kind of in an existential crisis waiting for Zoe.
I'll say, speaking of gimmicks,
yeah,
we
Bob's
just saw
got
Wake Up
those.
SSBA.
But Universal Overhead high low crushes it. Jesus. What on earth?
That was.
I have never seen anything like that.
Sick. Do you think that? Do you think that must have been a read as well? I mean, it must have been a read.
Nah, he could have been trying to bait out the Throtech. There are a lot of things that Universal Overhead could have beaten there. It could also have just been completely random. There's no way Venom is that sick to have called out the SSBA. And of all the ways to call out SSBA, not wait and do forward roll, not do spot dodge, none of that. No. I'm gonna Universal Overhead to low crush it.
That is like a 1,000 head read. I'm gonna give it to him. Because that was meant.
Yeah, you're gonna go with read. I'm gonna go with like. No escape from crossing fate, that just happened.
But I mean, we're seeing Venom play very differently to how he played against
yeah, because he has that matchup knowledge, man. He understands that against Ferry, Ferry's really uncomfortable with dealing with, and as a result, she can't really reversal him either. So if you get that pressure going, you'd never want to let her get away with it, because obviously you also have really your plus frames. You can completely skip the neutral part, which is dealing with all these whips. And wait, wow.
What?
Okay, that is a galaxy brain read. That's an actual read. Christ. Again, you can't, because Rixta usually goes for situations there where he'd like spot dodge to beat the supers and reversals and stuff. But it's Bubs, man. He's got a throw.
Yeah, you cannot spot dodge throws. So, dang.
You basically just got to commit to the, and that's again specifically Rixta's talked about this, but when you pull in Bubs, it's actually kind of Bubs' game, especially if he has super available to him, because he has DP, he has a like super command throw. It's really like feeling like you're the one under pressure once you pull him in. But speaking of, wow, misses the 2U, but manages to escape the corner. Nice.
Wow, snipes
bring him
him
back
straight
down.
out the air with GG.
Yeah. Which would have been so bad if he just got to skip neutral and dive kick onto him. But nah, here you go, keeping him in the corner. Beautiful DP.
Get the hell
he
off me.
Bet all of it right there. He would have died if he got that good air to air. Great awareness from Rixta right now.
Oh,
that's dead.
And then block confirms. I mean, yeah. Again, we just seem to being trying to be a bit more aggressive. But
let's see if Venom can keep him in the corner this time, because last time Rixta did escape. But if he doesn't manage to escape, we're basically seeing the repeat of the first rounds.
Are we going to see the Dragon
so
Punch? Yes, there we go. As I said,
it is. But it doesn't matter, right? You're in mid screen again, but Bubs is fine here, because again, all he has to do, jump, best jump in the game, take that dive kick, take those plus frames, skip the very neutral, but he's ended up in the corner himself.
I was just about to say, I'll tell you one thing that I think Rix is really good at, is somehow he manages to get out of the corner, put into it.
Well, it's Ferry. Like, I have nothing but respect for Rixta, but it's Ferry. Other than Lance, there's no character which says fuck the corner. Like, I watched 2 Lances play in tournament in one of my events the other day, and it was basically like wow, there you go, getting the SBA. That's gonna be dead, yeah. Ferry, no HB. But when watching 2 Lances play, both of them essentially invalidate the corner because they get their mid-screen confirms. They both jump out of corner with, wall jump with SSBA. So essentially, you end up with a paradox of, is there actually a corner?
Everybody's mid-screen all the time.
Yeah, essentially, everything is mid-screen. But essentially, because they get, mid-screen confirms, they're also, everything's the corner for Lance. Everything's the corner and nothing's the corner. But in a Lance mirror, at least it's, both ways. But then you play against Lance, you play against Ferry, you do all of this work, finally get them into the corner, and they're just like, no, you hold this now. I'm going to...
I know, it's just reversal supers to get the pressure off him.
Just slowly walking him all the way to the corner. Jumping back to full screen.
But Venom still has the life lead. So...
Yeah, he does, but...
I mean, it's not a lot, but also he does have super as well, which
you can notice
Rixta
though that
doesn't have.
Rixta was slowly walking him to the corner, which is now he's got him exactly where he wants him. This is where Rixta's going to start getting dangerous. GG, bringing him back down to earth. Exactly what you want to see.
He has to be careful, like I said.
Now, you see that? He doesn't commit there. That's so fucking perfect. He doesn't commit there. He had plus frames. He even got hit. He didn't go all the way in because that would lead to him having to take an RPS situation. He just takes the positional advantage. It is such a big deal that players don't do that. Like, I see so many players, Chargy, for example, another great player, great example. They have such a brilliant understanding of their game plan and their buttons and everything like that. But then it comes to a situation like that, where they have the lead, they're in a positional advantage, they get a hit, they commit to it, Then it turns into like a 50-50. Are they going to DP? And then if they lose that, they're back to not being able to play their game against Ferry. But, and as Ferry. But all you have to do is walk back. Go to the ranges where you're comfortable at, where you can oppress the opponent, and you're fine. You don't have to take that 50-50. And I love that awareness from Rixta there. Not forcing himself into that situation where he didn't have to. You don't see that very often, and it really upsets me.
I think that's the thing with this game as well, is exactly what you've just said. I mean, you don't, especially when you've got somebody on about 30% life and they've got super, you don't want to put them in a situation.
Wow. Walks up and does
I think that was a reaction. It must have been a reaction.
I don't think so. I think he was just walking forward, doing his SBA. I'm not gonna
lie. But that's the thing as well, is that in this game, you don't want to put somebody down, especially when they've got, like we said, Bub's got like really powerful supers. You don't.
Bonk.
Drops a combo. I mean, this is going to be a big comeback. Wow. Full screen. Got a speed boost.
Now taking the SSBA. Taking...
I respect this.
The
because...
problem with it though is that he's full screen now, and you've
But
got a
then-
sliver of health.
But I don't know, maybe, I think Bub doesn't do badly from absolute full screen. Obviously, he's got the projectiles. Maybe he can try and do a teleport, jump, plus frames from the jump.
The only problem with it is that EX Whip can just completely smoke Bub's projectile. That's really the only real problem with him sitting full screen. But with that said, he managed to just to get his way all the way from one side of the screen to the other, but gets met by one of Fairy's pretty fast buttons, you know?
And you saw there that he was...
Lows.
That Venom was scared of the Dragon Punch. He did the plus frame dive kick, but then just paused. Ooh.
Rixta keeps on messing up those whip pulls into 2U. Like, it's a very consistent thing right now. I don't know what's going on, but there you go. Again, why play rock, paper, scissors when you could just take a positional advantage? Even there, I don't really understand why Rixta pulled in, you know? Because the reward isn't even that great on getting the guess right. Here you go, though. On this situation, it definitely is. Ooh, double universal overhead, smoking Rixta. Lord Venom showing some new tools, you know?
But that's the thing as well, is that this match has been really backwards and forwards. We've not really seen one character.
I mean, you're basically seeing Lord Venom pull out every stop in the book, you know, coming up with new tricks that we've never even seen before, like low crushing SSBA with universal overhead. And that's got to be this matchup to a T, man. You've got to just invent ways to beat them, because if you're playing Grand Blue, you're playing honestly, you're not going to do it.
We're starting to see... Oh, wow.
Good DP.
I was just about to say, speaking of DPs, we're starting to see Venom as well, again, as I... before. He's being a lot more respectful on Rixta's wake up, because he knows that I think he's been hit by every Dragon Punch. So, I mean, obviously that just puts the...
it's definitely more to do with the fact that the only situations in which he isn't respecting it, Rixta is responding in turn with the DP, and Rixta isn't throwing out in situations where...
Yeah, I was like, oh, dang it.
Bubs basically only gets good combos when he's directly on top of them and they're in the corner. Because, again, he just can't really confirm off a really short range. So he really just struggles to get confirms from far range.
But he's doing a super good job here. Oh, as I say it. Oh, I thought that was going to be a confirm. He's doing a really good job.
Nice, good air to air. But again, not pressing there, right? Most people would run up, get a meaty 2L, and then take a rock, paper, scissors. Not Bubs. There you go. Catching him with the EX default piece of utility, which makes this matchup in particular, yeah, where they're not going for anything, you know? No. They can just react to it, get free 30%. But that makes this matchup, you know, Ferry is pretty much the biggest propagator of, I'm going to throw big committal stuff that might not even land, and then get stuck in recovery. You know, a good Ferry, definitely yes, right? Is that you get like a 20% combo, right?
Yeah.
Right there. But if you lose that guess and he gets the DP correctly, he puts you back to full screen. You're playing Ferry's game all of a sudden, and you never want to let the top tiers play their game. Is basically the thing. But the thing is about characters like Grang, Catalina, and Lance is that it's always their game. That they're happy to play any situation. Whereas Ferry, she notably isn't happy to play every situation. If you keep them at that mid-range where she doesn't have the fastest buttons, her DP can't connect on you, you can really make her feel oppressed. And Venom really doing a great job of showing that, and also doing a great job of showing us more gimmicky hard read situations.
I love how he was a little caveat. You're not getting pleased with props. It's never just like, oh, it's like now.
No, but no, that's a big thing. Got one life. Might as well just better. Which you don't see Rixta doing very often, you know. Usually you are seeing him be more reactive and more intentional, but it is a big thing that every player needs to mix it up. But as you start to have your life get lower and lower and lower, and you get put into these pressure situations more often and more often and more often, it's not many that he hasn't taken a little dive in, which is fair enough, you know. It's lots of really cool characters in this, and again, in a game that's it lacks complexity, right? It really does. So a lot of the gameplay mechanics and a lot of the characters are relatively simple, yet Arc System Works has done such a brilliant job at making all of the characters feel really unique and non-homogeneous. I really that's one of my biggest praises for this game, is that in a game that doesn't have tons of complexity like Guilty Gear, it still manages to have really unique characters.
Well, that's the thing as well, is that it is... Oh, wow.
Bam, getting hit by the SBA, but Benez has more HP than a Ferry, so he should be able to live this. Yeah, there you go.
That's the
one
thing
touch from him could do it.
With this game as well, is that they want it to be almost like...
But it just has a lack of complexity that just gates newer players from coming in, you know?
Yeah, and you want people to buy the game, right? Because then if they don't, wow, what a combo! You want
More
people to buy
play
the
fighting
game.
games, you know.
Exactly, exactly.
And you've got people coming from all over. You've got the gacha scene, you've got the trading card scene, you've got all of the fighting game scenes all coming together for Granblue.
And then, as we say that, Vasaraga just puts that scythe right into the top of it. I mean, dang, Benez is showing that he's not even that he knows this matchup as well because he's got a lot of answers. He swept the suck ball, you know, he spot
The
dodged.
black hole, yeah.
Yeah, I'm from my name. He's
suck ball. It's good.
You know, he's swept the black hole. He's challenging
nice.
every time he can.
But yeah, this is what I mean. It's not necessarily that Benez has.
These guys are slugging, man. This is like Venom could probably play this game from much further away than he's playing it, but he just.
You're saying that, but Vass has really good bar buttons too, and yeah, spot dodge into super. This isn't going to be dead, I don't think. If it is, it's going to be close.
I think he might be. I'm calling it. He is.
Nah, there you go. Didn't think so. That wasn't even as close as I thought. But getting sucked in. Vasaraga does not have the best tools to deal with that, you know, doesn't have any reversals available to him, jumps the super, though.
You saw that leap. He was like Michael Jordan halfway
preemptive as hell. I saw it coming a mile away, man.
Before the flash even happened. Really well scattered there by Bennett. But yeah, I mean, this match has been played much faster than I thought it was going to be played at.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's both of these characters, like, Venom can't really let Benez get his armor going because Venom doesn't have the best ways to deal with those armor charges. But at the same time, it's not a comfortable position, right? You're saying it right now. It's not a comfortable position to sit in against Bubs full screen because he can suck you in. You don't have a reversal, so you kind of have to hold it unless you know the secret tech, which is just forward roll. You just forward roll, you're fine. But you know, don't let him know that.
I mean,
with that said, though, you know.
Yeah, but you can even see that Benez knows the matchup. I don't think
Yeah, he really does.
Projectile.
But that's what I mean, right? You really know with lower tier characters, it kind of forces you to not just focus on your own game, but to understand how to play your character against other characters, because you have to kind of play the matchup. Whereas with characters like tier players, is that they kind of just get to run their game. Whereas all low tier players, you know, they're really aware. They know what's going on. They know how to play against other characters. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be, you know.
He just did 50%.
I love Vass combos. And unlike Bubs, he doesn't need the corner as much as some of the other characters in the cast. He can do it mid-screen. But, wow, getting the meaty. Missing the throw. Getting punished to death. Again, he does not need the corner, man.
No, hell no. That just did 30%. I mean, and that was
off of
really
like a
good
scrambly hit. Yeah, imagine when I'm looking at, you know, Gibbs events, my events. But he always turns up, and that's what I was getting at a second ago. You know, these people have to understand how to play their character against other characters, because if they didn't, they wouldn't be attending these events and getting so highly placed. They'd just be at the bottom of the bracket.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that everybody wants to play, obviously, and the fact that these get. But you know, if you're a Vasaraga player and you're not an amazing player, it's definitely going to be a massive uphill struggle. But Ben has come to play, man. Honestly, he's put in a really good showing. He's the sort of person that plays a character like Vasaraga, and the devs might watch and be like, "What's everybody complaining about?"
Yeah, Vass is fine. Yeah, again, Vass taking day one tournaments in NA and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
this character's fine, man. You know,
I
mean, if they held that mentality though, we'll end up with the version 1.30 patch coming in, and we're gonna see like Luane and Matera nerfs. Because day one, everyone was getting terrorized by him.
Yeah, and Charlotta as well. She got nerfed into the ground. Bless her. I mean, she's still strong, but
yeah, she's still a beta character.
That jump light was mad.
Oh, it still is. It still really is.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, good to confirm. And it's taking the round.
I mean,
talking about people, you know, playing these low tier characters, and as a result, they have to put in the grind. Otherwise, they're going to end up getting, you know, not so far in these tournaments. But we see players like Venom, like Benez, constantly placing really high because of their proficiency. It really does make all the difference in the world.
Oh, you like dealing with standing light and standing medium and down medium.
Yeah. Hold this real quick.
I mean, and even just talking about that, Benez has put it back to 2-2.
Yeah. I mean, if we're honest, this is the most even match. These
Combo.
characters are sluggers, right? That's kind of their whole thing.
Was that wasn't a setup, was it? Where he whiffed the dive kick?
No,
Into the...
no, it
Okay.
wasn't. That was. I don't think. I have to say, I don't believe so. It could be a really elaborate setup that I don't know about, but to me,
Oh,
it
wait,
just
okay.
looked like a scramble. Yeah. Again, you can't really just go for raw ass throw like that because on Wake Up, people have 8 frames of throw involved.
It was a setup. Rixta said it was a setup.
Oh, it's a real setup to whiff the
Yeah,
dive
dang.
kick there. That's pretty cool.
Because that was mad. It was like,
Yeah.
almost like an empty jump low, but he used the dive kick to get him to the ground quicker. That was mad.
All right, well, good to know. I'm going to
jump
keep
it.
an eye out for that in the future. I don't see Venom doing it very often, so. But again, Rixta, he's been grinding a little bit throughout this week, preparing for this
yeah.
event with Venom. So
I'll tell you one thing that Venom is definitely seems to be struggling with, especially in the corner for some reason. Benez is getting a lot of jump-ins, and the last
Yeah.
2 rounds have been that Benez has won have been from miss anti-air jump-ins into like game-winning combos. Yeah, I don't know why.
okay, he's no longer holding Fireball. He's kind of just trying to super jump over it preemptively to try and get a punish on the jump in the whilst Bubs recovers from the
Yeah.
Fireball. But earlier we were seeing him so effectively, so much solid pressure coming out there from Bubs. But the second there was a gap, Ben is getting out of there, taking back his turn.
We're gonna see. Oh, you see, nice little shimmy from Benez there to bait out the Dragon Punch. Oh, there it is.
But didn't get it. There it is. Yeah. Now you have
That's
to.
it.
Yeah, never mind. That's it. You get hit by the black hole. You never want to get hit by the black hole. You never really even want to be blocking, which is
Ooh.
what you want to be seeing. But there you go. Gets punished for a spot dodge this time, taking him all the way to the corner.
That was a really good call by Venom to teleport. Reading that, because he knew that Benez was going to try and spot dodge. He actually teleported in time to punish the recovery frames of the spot dodge. That was mad.
Oh,
Ooh.
nice. Shoulder charging
me.
through the dive kick.
Who said
Bit of awareness here, but-
Vass doesn't have a reversal?
I mean, he doesn't. It's pretty interesting though, because in games like Dragon Ball, you have characters with armored moves like Broly's charge.
There we go.
SSJ Goku, not SSJ, base Goku's charge that have armor on frame 4 onwards, and it kind of effectively means that in like staggered situations and on neutron block situations, they they technically have a reversal because any button you go for, he's going to be in that armor quick enough. It's less the case for Vasaraga, but but honestly,
I'm not seeing any
Bubs
Venom.
is the only there you go, get him mixed up my end now.
I mixed
But
you
yeah,
up as
Venom
well,
is
yeah.
the only like representation for this character at a high level in Europe right now. Both of them
Yeah,
kind of have
honestly.
mutually assured destruction of each other at full screen, so none of them wants to deal with it. So it's just them running at each other because again, Bubs doesn't want to let him get that armor up, stuff like dive kick reliably.
No.
So